All right, good morning, or good afternoon. Good day, everyone. How's everyone doing?
All right.
So I just want to give a little disclaimer. I told Kelly and Kingsley I had my first nervous breakdown this morning as I was finishing the presentation. I don't know why, but I got through it and I'm here. So I'm going to be, I have to introduce myself, right? So my name is Dion Gibson, also known as Gibby the Farmer. I am a sustainable agriculturalist. I work at the One Luther Foundation as the Agricultural Extension and Livestock Manager. My position has changed a million times, but so I deal with schools. So I'm used to being around high schoolers. I assist with the ag programs at Preston and Delivery and Central and Luther Heights. I also try to reach out to the local farmers and provide technical or give them some technical support wherever I can with anything they may have, whether it be livestock, whether it be crop production, even water management and stuff like that, which are things that we all need to keep in mind. I also manage a small apiary. You know what an apiary is? No. Bees. So I manage bees. I'm a beekeeper. Thanks to this lady right here who will be speaking after me. And I also manage a small flock of laying hens. So we produce eggs as well. All right, so I think that's enough about me. And I'm just going to get on. I'll be speaking on food sovereignty and climate resiliency in agriculture. All right. So food sovereignty kind of ties in. I'm not going to go too heavy into this because Shakara is going to go a little deeper into it, but just to give a little brief overview. Food sovereignty covers food security, which I'm sure everyone is more familiar with. And then it also includes the control of our food, where our food comes from, who we get food from, us deciding and controlling where we get our food from. So that's the legislation and policy side of it. All right. So I'm going to run through this kind of quick, but we have the food sovereignty. One of the definitions. It's not very easy to define because there's so many. It's a moving scale these days. But the rights of people, communities, and countries to define their own agricultural, labor, fishing, food, and land policies, which are ecologically, socially, economically, and culturally appropriate to their unique circumstances. So I like that we, the agricultural world, were included in this because agriculture is a huge part of the environment and our climate change and whatnot. I made mention yesterday that it's not often talked about, but agriculture actually contributes a lot to forest degradation and climate change in negative ways. So we have to look at, and I'm gonna delve into some different ways that we can farm and produce our food in more environmentally sound manners. All right. Sorry, I'm too quick. So food security, I think everyone has heard it a million times, and so I just wrote out the basic things. Everybody, always having access to healthy food to have an active life and have a healthy and active life. All right? Everyone got that?
Yeah.
I got it when I finish. All right, so controlling our food through policy and legislation. These are some of the things that we have to look at. In the Bahamas, we don't tend to see so much policy and legislation working in the agricultural industry, but if you were paying attention to the news, just a few months ago, we recently lifted a ban on Canadian beef. We had a ban on Canadian beef because there were, I can't remember what the issue was.
Yes, my cow is mine.
My cow, yes. They had an issue in my cow. And so
that's when I was in university, so I got a lot of time.
Yeah, so we have to do those kind of safety measures to protect ourselves from the food that is coming in. We're not a major producer of food, so what we import and what we buy from others, we kind of at their mercy to give us what they have, but we have to protect ourselves in that manner at the same time through different policies, as well as protecting our local farmers, because it's not fair, and I've been bickering with the minister, and he and I still don't agree on this, but they made poultry duty-free, eggs and chicken and meat. And I'm like, why would you do that if we're trying to increase and improve our industry? You should increase the tariffs or the duty so that the local farmers, yes, we're not producing enough, but it encourages us because we can have a better, more competitive rate to be able to produce our food and sell it off to, you know, our locals, okay? So those are some of the ways. With conch, we just put a ban on conch exportation, which may be a good thing, maybe not. That's one of our biggest exports, one of the things our country gets most of our foreign dollars from. But at the same time, we know that there is an imminent conch shortage in certain areas. I know there ain't no shortage of conch in Cat Island, right, Nikita?
No shortage.
We are blessed and we wanna keep it that way.
Yeah. You know, but we have to safeguard, so that's where policy comes in with food and food sovereignty, food security, and it's something that we all have to think about, because if our resources, the natural resources, or even what we're producing is not protected, or we're allowing any and everything to come in, then we're not protected. Because food is our medicine, food is our first line of health or sickness. So we have to protect that in every way. So I'm gonna go into climate resiliency, and I just wanna say my grandmother maybe about a month ago, out of the blue, called me and said, I know you love agriculture, that's all you wanted to do from you were a child, but I think you need to go into climate change. Out of the blue. We all know who grandmothers are, right? They just call you with something out of nowhere. So when Nikita and Bradley called me, I called her right away. I said, Mama, you'll be so happy. They called me to speak at a climate change conference. But, so and it's something that I've always been mindful as a child, you know, not littering, you know, I don't use straws, and I realized I don't like straws because I don't like the suck from them, but I realized maybe subconsciously it was avoiding having that extra piece of plastic to throw in the garbage or something like that. You know, so we have to think of all these things, and I can assure you, as a farmer, when we buy soil or get topsoil from elsewhere, all the plastic and the straws and the tires, those fragments in the soil, so it affects us as well. I now have to go and sift that out just as I'm sifting out rocks, you know? So I want to look at the disadvantages of the climate, and as a region, this is a regional conference, and so I really want to speak regionally and how, as a region, the Bahamas is like a small Caribbean, right? We're an archipelago, the Caribbean is an archipelago, and that's how I view it. So working as a region, working as a country is all the same, but we have to bring everyone together because many eyes make light work. So we're going to look at hurricanes. I am a Dorian survivor, and I seen firsthand what Dorian did. You'll see some pictures of what Dorian did to the farm that I set up at Baker's Bay. Drought, those of you from the southern islands, y'all don't see rain for months on end. I know, I've been there, God bless you all. And then floods. I'll show you some images of floods. Just a few weeks ago, I lost 2 fields of crops due to flood. People think that rain is good for agriculture, it is, but too much of anything is never good, all right? Then we're gonna look at our natural advantages, which is that archipelagic nature of the Bahamas and of the Caribbean as a region. And then we'll also look at I call it technology. It is, it isn't, but different ways that we can work to mitigate it through technologies and methods that are available today. And then also what I deem non-traditional farming, which, not that it's non-traditional, but it's not what you think of first. It's not the first thing that comes to mind, but it is a way of food production. So climate disadvantages in agriculture, hurricanes, drought, flooding. So we know, I don't know how well you can see, but so I think I speak loud enough. This was a half-acre greenhouse, half an acre. That's mangled steel, all right? That's what Dorian did to that greenhouse. These are the disadvantages. That was a chicken coop, 1,300 chickens. The chickens are okay. When the walls broke down, the chickens ran in the bush, they survived. The building is yeah, and they're still roaming around Guanaki right now. And then this is another image, and this were fields. These were crop fields. Kale, spinach, arugula, you name it. All right? All destroyed due to hurricane. And this happens across the region, everywhere. All right? We cannot avoid it. We just have to learn to live with it. Just like COVID, we learn to live with COVID. Hurricanes come every year. We got to find ways to work with it and acknowledge that I might lose my crop. I might lose my entire investment, sadly. And it sets us back with our food production. Now, okay, and I'm going to get into that as to how we can deal with it. This is another local farm after Hurricane Matthew down on Cow Bend Road. All right, and I got real live pictures. I could have gone online and got someone file photo from Taiwan or else, but this is in the Bahamas. I won't bring it home for you all to show you all what happens. Okay, crops destroyed, fruit trees gone, you know, and then now it's set back. The few people that are farming and trying to feed us, now it's like we don't have nothing. All right, and we now set back 3 weeks to a month or to 3 weeks for your leafy greens. But other crops take 90 days, that's 3 months. So we now have to start that cycle all over again to start producing food again. Flood, all right? That may look good, because you still see some grain, but I can assure you that grain will soon wilt and die.
Too much water.
Too much water, they're gonna become saturated, the roots are waterlogged, all kind of issues. Diseases flourish in super moist settings, pests flourish, you know, so not just the flooding, but the other issues that come along with it. All right, and these are the things we have to deal with on a regular. You know, we can try to raise the land, but then that's an investment because now I got to get someone to bring more fill or more soil to raise that. That costs money. You know, these truckers, they charge you by the hour and the load. I operate in Rock Sound. There's nobody doing topsoil in Rock Sound. I got to come from Palmetto Point, so that's at least a $1,000 job for one truckload. You know, so it's not an easy thing. That's why you really gotta love it if you're in agriculture. You have to. So our natural advantage, it's really only one. We're an archipelago. We as the Bahamas are an archipelago, we as a region are an archipelago. And the advantage to that is, if everyone is producing, I can call, if the Bahamas, I highly doubt every island in the Bahamas will be affected at once by a hurricane, but let's just say that it does happen. We can call on Cuba. We can call on St. Lucia, Jamaica. Hey guys, we all regional partners in agricultural production and trade. Can you please send over, you know, a couple £100 of tomatoes? When I bounce back, I got you on the flip side. And that's how we have to work. The same way as a country. You know, Abaco and Grand Bahama are two of our larger producing islands, but Andros should have been in a position, and Naga should have been in a position to say, okay, they have a food shortage now as a result of Hurricane Dorian. We're gonna be able to send them some onions, some whatever, okay? Even meat. A lot of times we only talk crop production, but we need to consider meat as well. Because I don't know how many of us are vegans. I love meat, so we gotta have it. But, that's a natural thing. So as a food source, to have that backup supply of food, but as well as to be able to support one another. You know, we have to use it. Strength is in unity. So I-Tech, as I deem it. So we have hydroponics, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with, as well as container farms, which we have one in the Bahamas. I'll show you an image of that. As well as protected agriculture. Protected agriculture, that's your greenhouses, indoor production. I know this may be a weird example, but it's the easiest one that I'm sure most people could visualize. Those big steel frame buildings, and a lot of marijuana production is done in there, but we need to grow food. We can talk about that, because I told the minister, I said, man, what the people can eat when they get high, because when you get high, you got you know, so they got to be able to eat something. We got to feed them. You know, so we could grow it and make plenty of money, but we could make more money feeding them. You know? And then, so that's protected agriculture. Like I said, the steel frame buildings where you can do it with artificial lighting, as well as greenhouses and cooling houses and screen houses, because greenhouses are made of glass. Everything is not a greenhouse. I hate that everywhere we go, oh, the Chinese do not donate greenhouses, they donate screen houses. Those are actually very hot, as a greenhouse is. We don't need greenhouses in the Bahamas, because greenhouses are for cold climate to trap heat. What we need are cooling houses or screen houses so the wind can blow through. We ain't got no shortage of heat in the Bahamas. That's one thing we ain't short of. And the way this sun carrying one nowadays, oh man. So yeah, so this is the inside of Eden Farms. I'm sure you all have seen it on the news and whatnot. Our local container farm. Kelly ain't gonna tell you all, but Kelly is working with them, you know. But you know, and it's innovative. It is climate resilient, because you can get them where they're fully self-contained with either wind turbines for power or even solar power. So, and that can pick up, I happen to know the principals who brought it here, and their goal and their vision was that it can be picked up and moved from island to island to provide food in what would otherwise be considered a food desert, all right? And again, it's climate resilient. If we had 50 of them sitting out wherever in the Bahamas, Cuba got hit by a bad hurricane, Jamaica got hit, we could send a couple of them ready to harvest, and they got food right away. You know, and so these are things on the regional, in the regional conversations, we have to say that. And again, I must say again, thank you, Nikita, for inviting us, because agriculture is often left out of these conversations, but it's such a huge part of it. We talk about climate refugees. I'm a climate refugee. I moved to Lutra because I didn't want to be in Abaco after Dorian. You know, much as I don't want to accept that, that's the reality. We all have moved. Many people have moved. Some of you from Managua and Crooked Island, some of you all had to come to Nassau for periods of time as a climate refugee. Okay? And your food supply down there, whatever they were growing, the goats, whatever were running loose now or dead. You know, we don't want to talk about the one goat and 3 birds. My good friend will probably round me if he hear me saying that. So then we have hydroponic systems as well. Hydroponics are good. To me, the quality is good, but the flavor ain't there. If you've ever had it, and it's you produce food quickly, but nothing like coming from the ground. Nothing, right? But it's climate resilient. These towers probably are self-contained with their water, the NFT systems. And I added this because this is homemade, this is DIY. This is do it yourself. Some PVC pipe, a fish tank pump, and some nutrients. You could even go get some chicken manure and put it in the water, and it ain't gonna do everything, but it provides some nutrients for the food. It's a start. And this can be done, anyone could do this. You could probably go to the dump right now and find these pipe pieces, these pieces of PVC pipe. Yeah. Drill a hole, some wood, fill it up, let your water flow down, your lettuce grow. And everybody eats salad, and if you don't, you should eat more. Kale, spinach, all these things. No, we need to eat more. That's the serious part of
hydroponics. Is it not being stored?
Hydroponics is soil-based farming. So hydro, water. And so everything, the nutrients are passed through the water. So you have to add nutrients to it. Right. There are some drawbacks, but it can pick up and go anywhere. You can do it in the driest of places, and it conserves water. In the ground, we water our crops, but at the same time, not all of it gets to the crop. In this, and it leaches, I mean, it goes back to the ground, it's not bad. However, here, the water constantly circulates until the plants absorb it, and you'll have to add more water, but you don't have to do it all the time. Water is a scarce resource. We don't realize it. You know, the aquifers in California, they dry. They ain't got no more water in California, and they dug big lakes and stuff to try enough water, but they're running out. We are blessed to live on the islands. You know, we should probably be doing more RO versus digging RO from the sea versus drilling into our ground. But, you know, these are different things. That's another conversation. You know, Kelly and Nikita could probably talk a lot better than me. And then we have some towers here. These ones. So these bags are grow bags, and the string has tomatoes. I don't know, everybody may not have seen these before, so I want to share with you. And then these are styrofoam buckets. That's actually strawberries they're growing in there. You know? So all these things can be done anywhere. As you see, these are both in protected agriculture, in screen houses of sort, or shade houses. And so this here is a Crable cooling house. Where I work happens to be building the first one in the country. Very expensive, but because I work for a non-profit, we're able to get funding. And there are other ways to get funding for projects like this. And that's one thing a lot of people always shy away from doing agriculture products because it's so expensive, etc. But we can find funding for them. IDB has money for it. UNDP, Jeff program has funding for these type of things, you know, so we have to look into it. But this cooling house is supposed to revolutionize farming in the hurricane belt. They have these from Mexico to Argentina, Colombia, Canada, all over. It's a Canadian company. These are supposed to be able to extend up to a category 3 hurricane, 3 or 4? 3.
4, I think.
4, they say 4. After Dorian, I think nothing can survive.
I
I'm not, I work there, they're doing it, I'm not a believer. I'm seeing is believing. I gotta see it in action to believe it.
Yeah.
I'm not being negative, I just know what I've been through.
You're just being real.
Yeah, right? So what this does, it actually closes up, the walls come up, everything opens up all the way. So in a hurricane, essentially, it's supposed to wind, it's just supposed to whip right through it. Now that greenhouse that I set up at Baker's Bay, it's their fault. I wasn't there during the storm, but it's their fault it went down because the last hurricane, I went there and I literally took every piece of plastic, every piece of screen off. It took us about another week to get it back up. They're like, oh, you set us back. Okay, we still have it though. You know, this cost us $400,000. You want to just let it go, then now you got to pay to dig that out of the ground because those pylons went deep in the ground. You know, it costs money. So these are supposed to be waste. Now, you may lose your crop on the inside of this, but you still have the structure, you have the cooling aspect of it, where you can get right back to doing. I see my time is running. So then we have what I call non-traditional methods, inland mariculture, and I bring it up because we used to have a shrimp farm in the Bahamas, and a little buddy in the tree told me some people trying to do it again. And then permaculture, which we do not talk about, which is the most climate safe and best climate friendly way to grow food, or agroforestry. Well, those are the same but different. And then using renewable energy in agriculture. All right. So shrimp farming, like I said, and look how easy this is. These tanks, they're made of plastic liners with PVC pipe. You can set them up anywhere, indoor, outdoor. Shrimp is a reasonable source of protein, of animal protein, and it's relatively quick, you know. And so we don't have to go and be scraping the ocean bottom or overfishing the natural shrimp. You know, shrimp and lobster, the cockroaches of the sea. We don't like to think of them like that, but they clean up the sea. That's their job, to clean up dead and rotting stuff in the sea. You know, so we don't want to get rid of them. We know what happens when we get rid of all the sharks. You know what happens when you get rid of all the grouper or all the conch. You know, issues happen. All right. Moving on. Why is it not going? All right. So this is the permaculture layout, right? You will see here it has worm gardens, a studio, a little extra, a conservation spot, chicken coop. What else is on here? So they got their pizza oven, their table. All right. See a worm farm, right? Y'all know what worms are used for?
Oh, yeah.
I can let Dolan talk about that. He's the worm man. I ain't getting in his business. And then, you know, different stuff. A pond, so they probably got some fish in there that they eat, and that might also be their water supply for their crops. There's a quick question. Okay.
Exactly is permaculture.
2 words. Permanent agriculture. So you set it up in a way that you live in it, and everything works together. That's sustainability in an image.
Oh, okay.
People, place, and money, and profit.
None of the nutrients and resources are wasted.
Yeah, so everything stays in the cycle. You still have to go and get some, because nothing is absolute. But, you know,
But most of the time it is.
It's like a circular.
Right.
most things stay right in that cycle. So the scraps from the vegetables and stuff are probably gonna go to the worms, so they break it down and make soil. That's nutrient rich, so now they grow their crops with it. The chickens probably get some of the vegetable scraps. The chickens provide manure. The chickens provide eggs. The ducks in the water probably swimming and eggs and meat, etc., etc. This right here, believe it or not, is on the island of Eleuthera. A family of, I think it's about 11 of them live in this yard in 3 different houses. Let's show that. They have pigs, they have chickens, they have cows, they have sheep, they have goat, they have rabbit, they have ducks. I don't even have any turkey. They have bees, yes, lots of bees. I need to go get some from Manal. But they got fruit trees. She's actually behind me right now to dig some swales and berms so that they can redirect the water on their slope instead of it running to the lake across the road. They want to have a pond where they can put some fish to be able to have. I mean, I don't think we should be eating tilapia, but hey, if you like it, eat it. You know, but so, and then their ducks probably gonna go down there as well. All right. So this is all at home. Now look at this. These people producing mozzarella cheese in a Lutro. You don't like mozzarella cheese? Don't like
yes.
cheese? That's ground up duck meat with duck fat.
Moringa.
They making their own moringa capsules, so they are medicating themselves off of their ground as well. And this is literally in 1 yard. And let me tell you, she was so excited when I tell her I sharing this with you. If you do come to a Lutro, I just take the people out. So if you do come and you want to visit, and that's milk. They milking their cows. They get their meat when they kill a pig, they cut it up, that goes in the freezer. When they kill a cow, that goes in the freezer, they share some with some of their friends and family.
That's crazy.
And this is all at home, on their home. She goes out, she buys plants, or she picks up, she forages wild plants that the bees feed on, you know, all these different things, so everything kind of stays in. They're also master builders. They build all the houses on their property, except for the first house that they met there when they bought it, but, you know, and thank you guys. I think afterwards, once everyone is done.
There was no reason.